reason we're letting you in here is because Miss Studdard is going to be here. Miss Garrick is going to be here for this thing, and they said they would make sure it was all right. I said nobody gets in that control room.
Yeah, it's a pain when people get in there and they start messing with
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Oh, what? Experience. I'm pretty experienced with all this stuff. I said I don't care. You're not going to get in here. So
Okay.
we'll keep it locked up.
That's a separate fee, right?
Yeah, it's a specialty meeting. School doesn't have that.
You guys.
Mr. Pittman has it. I have it. Then Aaron has it. Some of that.
But it's tightly controlled.
Yeah, there's only a few people that have it. Oh, and that's why it's not that.
So if you're here and you pay
Okay. Cool. Miss.
So are you going to go down to Tampa then? We only have like 3 jobs. No, I just wanted to give you a heads up. Well, no. Yeah. I have popcorn breath. He called at the end of the night.
All right, I put everything on the desktop. I'm moving.
Is that what you're looking for? I don't know. I just pushed this.
I practiced that too.
Okay, cool.
I have two transitions that didn't go right, but they're so minor. I am not about to miss it. I'm leaving it as it is.
You did a lot of work on that.
Yeah, and it's took out two of the technical drawings stuff. Okay, so
You have to be a speedy talker. Gotta keep it going. Alright, and then you just tell Miss McKinnon.
don't think I did check that. This one?
I believe it's board 2. So I'm not sure.
So you have board 1 and board 2. Which one's first?
Is board 1?
And they're being presented first.
We already have them minimized in there unless you custom.
That's up to Violet.
We are presenting board 1.
Okay,
first.
bye.
We're going in the exact order as of everything else. So the
So
other.
board 1 is first.
Yes.
Board 2 is second. Are you doing them back to back?
Yes, sir.
So
They were asking me questions I don't know the answer to. I was like, okay.
Yeah, the way I have it set in my mind.
okay, so here's a quick rundown. This
Okay.
is your remote, so you don't have to come to here and have somebody sit
That's
here.
yeah.
That's what?
That's the
board
wrong
2.
board. No, that's the previous version of the board. Do we not have the updated board 1?
I have just these two, the only ones that are on this computer.
Where's my flash? I gave it to Penny. We need the most recent board.
So that's not it.
That's board 2, which is perfect. That is the current board.
Good thing you guys came over here.
Whew, that would have been embarrassing.
Alright, so where's it at?
Okay, we should go into.
Me first. I was like, I don't know.
Can you click the date? At the top.
Yes, that's a note. That's a document. I'm looking for the PowerPoint. That's the older version of the board. All right, back out of Ace National. Back. Why do I not? Do we have Brian? Brian's not here. Because we have board 2.
We have the boards, right?
Yeah, we have the physical board.
That's all we need.
Yes, I mean,
Easel, do you have the physical boards?
we have 2 easels with us. Brian, do you have a flash drive that has board 1? I have the previous board 1, the old board 1. I have an old version of board 1. I don't have the current version of board 1.
Oh, you don't?
Because
Okay.
Brian, huh?
Okay. I have them in the car.
You have a sound.
But I'm not going to get them quick.
Okay. Oh, right. Because I saved everything on your phone.
Do you have any easels to show the boards or?
We have them.
Yeah, all right, so you want to grab the easels, set them up here somewhere, and then we'll take them away.
So you're not using board presentation 1, you're just using 2, right?
Yes, they're bringing board presentation 1.
Okay, so here's the thing. You're talking on this, try not to move it. I can adjust the volume if you're soft speaker, loudspeaker. The remote, all you have to do is click on your presentation. Once you click on it, push this button, it pulls it into full screen mode.
Okay.
And then hit the left button to go to the next slide, the right button to go to the next slide, left button to go back.
Okay.
That's all you need.
Awesome. Thank you.
And then, do you want
And
to
I will
grab
be
that?
facing them rather than the audience?
However you want to do it.
whichever way works. I can.
If you're going to talk to them, I would face them. If you're going to talk to the audience, I would face that way.
Face
But
the judges.
if you're presenting to them, I would face them.
Okay.
That way you can put your
You can
paper
turn, rotate. It'll pick you up.
Yeah.
We have it on another flash drive located in another person's car that is on this campus.
Right, because he gave me that flash drive and I had been working from that one.
Telling me that this is the one.
You guys have the same size. My reaction.
I mean, these. Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say Michael.
Did anybody ever get my
Alright, and so
question answered?
here, this is already in full screen mode, so all you gotta do is
Okay, and it will show.
No, I'm gonna pull them down. I haven't pulled them down yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
So forward, push to the right,
Okay.
back. So,
Yes. Yep.
That.
This is still a previous version.
Oh, it is.
It's a new up. It's more updated, but I forgot that DeMarco took my
Okay, we
flash
about
drive
ready?
and I took his flash drive.
Y'all ready?
You want to go ahead and... Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to ask Ms. Gilhausen if she would lead the invocation and pledge.
Father, thank you for another night, another opportunity to come together around our precious Clay County School District. Pray that you would just be in the center of this meeting, Father, that we would keep in the forefront of our minds that we are here to provide a quality education to the children and the families in this school district. Be with us tonight, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. If you would pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call to order the Clay County School Board meeting of April 16th, 2015. I'd like to welcome the citizens of Clay County. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend tonight's meeting. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board, there will be an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please fill out a yellow card, which you will find located in the back of the room, indicating the specific agenda item, number, or topic that you wish to speak about, and then turn it in promptly. No additional cards will be accepted once the board moves to the discussion agenda. Your participation is welcome and appreciated. Okay, our first item up is adoption of the consent agenda. Okay, but before we take a motion on that, we do have a yellow card to speak to an item on the consent agenda. That would be Tracy Butler. Would like to speak to item C4.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. I hadn't planned to speak to this tonight, but I'm going to speak to it.
I'm sorry, Ms. Butler. Could you
I'm
please
sorry,
state your
Tracy
name?
Butler, yes, 12570 Cache, Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
I've had so many calls this week from our annual contract teachers about the fact that several of them are not going to have jobs next year. And I am very concerned about these folks. They are concerned, especially since some of them have been in this district for a very long time. We're talking about teachers who are highly effective teachers. And the turnover that we have in this county, if you take a look at the DOE statistics, I believe it's around 52% over a 5-year period. So we are doing a lot of damage to this profession. And I asked 2 months ago to please tell me how we were going to correct and get this ship, right this ship, so that we could stop sending these AC teachers these letters. And I have not received any answer on that. So I'd like the answer on that, please.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Butler. Okay, the first item up is adoption of the consent agenda. I would like to note that items pulled to discussion is item C2, And also, item C13 has been withdrawn. I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion for approval by Ms. Condon, a second by Ms. Gilhousen, and this is a motion to adopt the consent agenda minus item C2. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. We'll move on to recognitions and awards. The first item up here is recognition of the ACE Mentor Program at Orange Park High School. And
Madam Chair, if it pleases the board, I'd just like to make a comment or two. The ACE Academy is one of our oldest academies. It's called the Academy of Engineering at Orange Park High School. And ACE at Orange Park High is ACE, Architectural, Construction, and Engineering, not to be confused with the ACE Academies associated with Cambridge at Fleming Island and Oakleaf. But what these students have pulled off with their mentors this year is absolutely phenomenal. It's been nationally recognized, and our mentor of the year nationally, Mr. Joe DeMarco, who's also going to get to talk to you tonight, is also from Orange Park High. Unprecedented to have the students and the mentor of the year nationally all from one school. So I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but to say I'm not excited, enthused, and just more proud than I know what to do with myself with for what this wonderful academy has done would be an understatement. So Ms. Stewart, our Director of Career and Tech Education and queen of our academy wall-to-wall program here, is going to just hit an item or two, even if she's an Aggie. I get it. The queen.
And the mic's nice tonight. It's nice and low, and so you guys knew the short folks were coming up first, I guess. So thank you for having me here tonight. It is a privilege to be here. Queen, that's a new word for me, superintendent, queen. So I'll have to work on that one a little while. But what I'd like to do tonight is introduce Miss Kimberly Hanson to you guys. She is an engineer with, I wrote it down, Integrated Construction, LLC. One of the reasons she's really important in here tonight is she's a member of the ACE Mentoring Board of Directors. She is actually our past chairwoman. I believe last year she was the chairwoman. So, and does a great job in leading that ACE board. And she'll tell you a whole lot about ACE, but essentially Mr. Van Zant told you some. They're a group of architecture folks, construction folks, and engineers who mentor high school students and help them to really understand what's in that field. And they do some amazing work. In Clay County, we have those in 2 schools. We have them in Middleburg High School and Orange Park High School, with Orange Park High School the past several years having a national team. And we're here tonight to recognize that national team because they have been selected from those all across the nation, and there are 3 of them, I believe, competing in Washington, D.C. here in a couple of weeks. So it's a huge honor. And Joe DeMarco, who's very humble, he is one of our lead mentors, and he has also been recognized and will be recognized in Washington as the National Mentor of the Year. So we've got a very important and well-learned group that's going to be in front of you guys this evening. Some of the stuff that they'll show you will blow you away. It's really neat. From being on the commission side of the house, I have had engineers and folks like this come and present to us, and these young men and women do a great job. So without further ado, I'll ask Ms. Hanson to come on up.
Well, thank you all so much for allowing us to come tonight. We are very well pleased, and Mr. Van Zant and Ms. Stewart kind of pretty much summarized who we are and what we do. But I think the ACE Mentor Program is a great example of a public-private partnership. And we bring in professionals from the industry. These are leading experts. These are architects, engineers, and construction professionals. And as well as we have tradespeople from like WWA and Miller Electric that participate with us on the mentor program. And we are able to go into the classroom and actually give a real-world type project to these students. And we help them to develop it from concept, selecting a site, giving them a request for proposal, just as you would issue for a new school or anything. I mean, we all live in built facilities, and these professions are integral to our society. They're not going away, And this is a way that these students can develop careers that will be very lucrative for them personally, but also very rewarding and help them to become productive members of our society and hopefully tax-paying members, which we need. I would say that Orange Park High School was a great fit for this program. I remember coming out and meeting with Miss Michael, who is here tonight. She retired a couple of years ago, but she was the lead academy teacher at Orange Park when the AECS program started. And I met with her several times, and she's like, "You mean you're going to bring in real professionals to work for us for free, and then you're going to give us scholarship money?" I mean, she even asked me, "What's the catch?" And I said, "No catch, Miss Michael." And I had to meet with her 3 times before she let me present to the advisory board meeting, because she was really trying to figure me out. And so finally, we got past that. And I think if we could let her give a testimonial tonight, she would say that she was glad that she let us come in. And she's nodding her head, so yes, I appreciate that. And so I did invite her to come because I felt like we birthed this together in Clay County, and we are just so proud of these students. And we were able to expand the program a couple of years ago. Paul Parker kept pushing us, also retired, but can we get to Middleburg? Can we get to Middleburg? These students out there, they need this program. And so we have been out at Middleburg 2 years, and they have 2 teams participating this year in our end-of-the-year event. And I would like to invite all of you and you in the audience. We are going to present all of these student teams at the University of North Florida on May 15th at a luncheon. And y'all are all welcome to attend that. We'd be honored and pleased to have you attend. We actually opted to not have a speaker this year. We're going to let the national team have our full 20 minutes at the luncheon presentation so they can fully present their project versus just the few minutes that they're going to get tonight. And in terms of scholarship dollars, I went back and looked at the math, and we've in 8 years that we've awarded scholarships, we've given out over $115,000 in scholarships. So I think that's significant. And some of these students are eligible for what we have a Founders Scholarship. If they participate in the program for all 4 years, they can renew their scholarship each year. We have another method of renewing that scholarship. If they come back while they're studying in college for their career and come back and mentor with us, we will renew their scholarship. So they have ways that they can help get paid all the way through. Plus, we have had a few students have internships as they're going through school. So we get them involved in their career early. You're going to be very impressed with them. I thank you for letting us be here. I'm going to introduce Mr. John, who is now the lead teacher at the academy, and he has been there. He was there when Ms. Michaels let us come in. He's been there the whole time and has just been a great resource for the program. And I'm going to let him come speak.
Ted John, 5541 Rainy Avenue West, Orange Park. The ACE mentoring program is an interesting fit for Orange Park High School. In the classroom, we can address all the STEM subjects, and of course engineering is our main emphasis. But that step between having a job and moving on in your professional life, that's kind of a large leap. The ACE mentoring program with our professional engineers and construction people fill that hole, so it works out extremely well. And I'm excited with this team going to national this year. Thank you. Joe DeMarco is our lead mentor here, and Joe's been with us for the entire time we've been involved with the ACE program. This is only our 3rd year with a national team. The first year we placed, the second year not quite as good, but this year we won our category, and we're one of 3 competing for the national.
Thank you, Mr. John. My name is Joe DeMarco, 167 Stiles Avenue, Orange Park. I'm also a Clay County resident. There's a lot of things to say about our team. They're very hardworking, obviously. They have worked for 7 months to develop this project, as you'll see here in a few minutes. They have looked at every aspect of this RFP, this proposal. They've done budgeting, they've done proposal descriptions, narratives. They've done wonderful three-dimensional renderings and other work, and you'll be very impressed with what they've done. They are part of this national ACE competition, which allows roughly about 50 teams in the country. 50 high schools are competing against us, and we were chosen as the final 3. So they will actually be competing against other three teams for a final prize of $5,000. So it's a pretty impressive competition that they'll be part of. They are also working to develop this project in real life. They're so excited about this project, not just for this competition hypothetically, but you know, they've studied a lot about the community and feel like, given the money, if we're able to raise $8 million, they feel like this clinic will become part of Green Cove Springs. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the team, and I would like to introduce our lead speaker, Violet Otero.
Madam Chair, are they going to present? Should we move down so we can see?
I think it would be appropriate if you guys want to present to the audience, we'll come down out there.
Okay.
We actually...
I had a script. Okay. With bullet points.
You have it?
It was here. I left it. Gotcha. Okay.
Are we sitting on this?
Okay. As Mr. DeMarco said, my name is Violet Otero, and I am a senior 4 years with the ACE program, a 3rd year in the ACE National program. I would like to introduce our other seniors, Kenny Wyndham and Hunter Vitelli, our juniors, Brian Reed and Michael Nee, and our sophomores, Tom Glasick and Destiny Childress. Now, this year, the national team and I decided to do the Health Clinic Challenge, not only because we have experience with a previous project similar to this one, but because we felt that our community, Green Cove Springs, would be able to benefit greatly from this. We felt that Green Cove is an underserved, expanding military town that has a lot of retired veterans, elderly, and young families in the area, and we expect it to grow more within 15 to 20 years, which is why we included a future plan in the bottom right hand corner. We chose this site in particular because it's in the center of Green Cove Springs. It's in the heart, a nexus of transportation, if you will. It's close to the waterways right across the street between 16 and 17 highways, and it also has a railroad track on the facility grounds and is really close to the airstrip. This allowed us the chance to be able to reach all of Green Cove Springs, where it's not just within our small community. Everyone can come in from Orange Park or Fleming if they need to. Now, as inspiration for a facility, before we could even start, we had to do weeks of research where we learned that Green Cove was once a cultural, historical town known for its springs. People used to come in from all over the country or from other countries to go to the springs to bathe in the waters and get rejuvenation. They thought that the waters had a mythical power, much like the Fountain of Youth. This was our inspiration for our whole project, hence the name Harmony Springs. With this, we were able to make the community feel that when they came into our facility, they didn't have to fear or feel anxious going into the hospital. They felt they could breathe a sigh of relief because we incorporated everything about Green Cove into our project because we felt that the community was a major part of this. Sorry. We incorporated Green Cove into everything we did, such as the lobby center and the front of the big building where we had mosaic tiles, or we had a children's area to distract everyone, to make it feel as though you aren't in a waiting room for a hospital, but you're at a safe meeting place. From there, we looked at the demographics. Out of 7,000 people, most of them are retired veterans and elderly, and of the few young families that are within the area, this is what drove us to our rehab center. We thought that with veterans coming back from war or from the elderly that were getting arthritis in their hands, they could use the physical or occupational therapy, or they could benefit mostly from the prosthetics that we are able to service them with. For the middle class or even upper, any kind of family that comes into our facility, that we're able to service them and their children for cold, flu, vaccinations, or anything basic medical necessities. And then the urgent care center was perhaps one of our most debated areas, because we felt that with another medical facility 12 to 15 minutes away in an emergency dire situation, 12 to 15 minutes could mean life or death. And then finally we came to the MedCon Clinic Center, which is short for medical containers. This allowed us to compact all 3 of our services that we provide in-house to go anywhere across the world. We're able to ship them on barges, or take them onto a shipping plane, or onto a railroad track, or even by semi-truck to go to South Florida in case of a hurricane or a flood, or to take them to North America, or somewhere in New York where they were hit by the hurricane. We would be able to help those people with medical necessities, with medicine. And it also allows us to take part in a greater system other than ourselves. It's not just about the local community. We want to be an emergency reaction center, so that if they have an epidemic in Africa or in Europe or anywhere across the world, it's possible for us to get our medical facilities to them. And even though this is a hypothetical project, we went above and beyond to make sure that we had a budget, a realistic budget, of about $8.1 million. And compared to the $100 million project that was refused about 5 or 6 years ago for a full-blown hospital, this one is very feasible and affordable for Green Cove Springs. We also ensured that the technology in our facility would allow this facility to stay within the region or the boundaries of modern time, to where the technology would revolutionize everything that we're doing, so that in 50 or 60 years, that as modern technology advances, we won't be left in the dust. And all of this ties in with our LEED score 89 out of 100, which grants us with a LEED score platinum because of our recycled materials with our MedCon units, or because of our natural lighting or power-saving utilities. And that's all this work. Oops, sorry. For 6 or 7 months, yeah. It's kind of hard to put it within 10 minutes, but I love ACE Nationals. I love ACE because it grants me the chance that when I go off into college, or when I go off into the real world, I can show them these boards and tell them, I did that. And not just me, but a team of teenagers younger than myself put all of this together and created something that can blow the socks off of professionals. And with that, I would like to pass on my experiences to Brian Reed and have him talk about how he felt.
Hi, my name is Brian Reed. And this whole ACE experience, I've been doing it for 2 years since I was a sophomore, like Tom and Destiny. And it's really affected me. Not like affected me, like, but it's it's been an experience for me. It's really opened my eyes to what there is out there, and like how engineering works. And with touring colleges and everything, like I've been doing for the past few months, it's really showing me what I want to do when I go into the field and get a career and make it my living. And then here's Kenneth Wyndham, about the scholarships and his experience.
Hello, I'm Kenny Wyndham, and I tried making a script about how ACE affected my life, and it just didn't work out because words cannot explain it. Before entering the ACE National Program and the ACE program in general, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after high school. And this program has showed me that architecture is the field that I wish to follow after high school. So the next thing was cost. How am I going to pay for that? So through the scholarships that ACE can offer me, I can use those to further my dream of becoming an architect. And the last thing is the reputation that I have built myself through the 4 years of the program. Upon graduating college, I will be able to have a reputation built with the CEOs and everyone of the companies. So I could very well have a job in an architectural firm after I graduate.
That's great.
Who they will go to present to in Washington, D.C. is the Construction Industry Roundtable. These are the CEOs of all the leading international firms. I told them all they need to be on a mission to collect as many business cards as they can, and they need to drop thank you emails as soon as they leave and stay in touch with these folks during the courses of college and secure themselves internships. And I truly believe that this achievement will seal their careers. And I thank you for letting us present this tonight. And I would love to get the team to have a picture, if we could, Ms. McKinnon and Mr. Van Zandt, if we could, and maybe in front of the board.
Wow. Yes, Mr. Van Zandt.
I should have stated it openly earlier just for general bragging rights and transparency. Miss Hanson is my sister and undoubtedly the smartest of the 8 siblings in the Van Zandt household.
Okay. All right. Our next item under recognitions and awards is Swimming Pen Creek Elementary School accolades. And with that, I'd like to introduce Miss Linda Pratt, principal.
That was amazing. It
Yes.
is very fun to be in schools and see excitement from students, and exciting to see them in front of adults like that. That is why principals like to be in schools. So tonight we are here, Swimming Pen. We have a lot of people from our school. We have several parents here and teachers and staff members to celebrate 2 programs that we are very excited about. We have every Friday Run Walk, and Coach McDougall runs a phenomenal program with parent volunteers. And also this year we did the American Heart Association Jump Rope for Your Heart. Our little school, 379 students, raised, we got a letter, $6,240 this year.
Wow.
So with that, yes, we're very excited about that. This letter, I'll just read the first paragraph. On behalf of the American Heart Association and the millions of Americans we serve, thank you very much for your school's donation of $6,240. Families and schools are critical links in providing the foundation for cardiovascular wellness in our country. By holding this event at your school each year, you raise awareness about heart-healthy living and help us fund more life-saving scientific research and critically needed education efforts. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to invite Coach McDougall, a very vital, important person in our school, to explain how she did that and motivated our students to do that. Coach?
It's nice seeing you again this month. As you know, on Fridays, I was here as I am with the Florida Striders to present the award to Lakeside Elementary for their top mileage We do our Run Walk program every Friday during the school day. Every student in our school participates in our Run Walk program. And we know Lakeside came in first. Our little school came in third. So that's part of it too. But the American Heart Association and Jump Rope for Heart is very dear to my heart personally. And this is the 11th year of our school participating in the program since I did open the school 11 years ago. And this is the most money our little school has raised. Even the first few years when we were twice the size we are now, we've included, along with not just raising the money, one of my PE units is on heart healthy exercise, which is February, cardiovascular respiratory endurance. And we turn it into really 4 different days where we participate working on our jump rope skills. And then we have a competition among the grade levels about how many jumps they can do, where we present awards to those individual classes, the classes that raise the most money, and I could go on and on. But we make it a real event, not just raising money for American Heart, for our kids, and why heart healthy living is so important.
Not to mention, she's at parent drop-off, the little awards, and she dangles them from the kids, and so that excites them as well. So, okay, so with that, we have 2 amazing students here, and the first one, and if you want to help me present these.
They were so close. This is the most money any individual students have raised in the 11 years, and these students were $5 apart.
Oh.
At
Yes.
$370 and $375.
Yes.
So that's why we're recognizing them
Yes,
tonight.
so Alex Anastasia raised $375. Come on down. All right. And the next one, Hayden Carlion, $370. And Anastasia is 6th grade, and Hayden is in 3rd grade, and both their teachers are here tonight. Can we get a picture again? Yes, can you come down and get a picture? Or we can wait for the next set if you want to wait. We have 2 sets of awards. Okay. All right. The next achievement at our school is we are very thankful that we were one of 2 elementary schools that received a computer program called Achieve 3000. It is in all the secondary schools. It is, what is it? What is online? It's online learning program for differentiated literacy solutions. We were approached by Kathy Schofield and Lisa Jones if we would be willing to accept this program. I said, yes, it would be awesome. We will do that. So what is it? It focuses on getting students college and career ready by challenging students to raise their Lexile level to 1300 through various online activities by the time they finish high school. Students interact with Achieve 3000 both in school and at home, and the teachers can set the activities according to individual student goals. So the teachers receive professional development on this, and they learned how to do it, and they took it on. I was very proud of them. So tonight, I'm here to recognize 2 6th grade students who have worked incredibly hard in reading classes at school. But first, I'd like to provide you with some data from these 2 classes only since January, because that's really when we started implementing it full force. In these 2 6th grade classes, 69% of these students are college and career ready already by the time they took the FSA in their reading levels. In addition to completing 1,007 reading assignments, these 2 classes have completed 614 writing assignments in Achieve 3000, where they are citing evidence from the text and editing their final piece. These two classes have logged on to Achieve 3000 for a total of 232 hours and 52 minutes for after-school work. In addition, we received a National School Letter of Award from Achieve 3000 for one of these two classes. At this time, I'd like to invite their reading teacher, Mrs. Norton, to come up and talk about her experience with Achieve 3000.
Hi, thank you for having me. I've been very excited by this program. Not only have I seen my highest achieving students improve their reading comprehension level, but my struggling students have improved significantly. I've also seen a huge reduction in the stress level of my students because each student is working at their own reading level. Therefore, they're all participating, they're all excited by the program, and they look forward to actually taking part in it. The competition that was just mentioned, each school that participated in this competition, there was supposed to be one class that won a reward, like a pizza party, and the 6th grade at SPC did so well that the company rewarded the entire 6th grade with a pizza party. So there was 100% student participation.
All right, so at this time, I would like to reward the students and make sure I get the numbers right on this too. So the first one is Aniston Fellows. And she can come on down, and she completed a total of, this is since January, 66 activities for a total of 145 points. Okay, and the next one is Benjamin Farago, and he completed a total of 49 activities for a total of 150 points. So can I have all of my winners come up down here for a picture? And now can I have a picture with Superintendent and Miss McKinnon? That'd be awesome. Thank you. See with those flashes? Okay, thank you. We're good?
Good?
We're good.
Great job.
Thank you very much. All right.
I know the parents of the students that are here tonight know this, and any of you that have worked around Miss Pratt know this. She's principal at Swimming Pen Creek now, and she was principal at Grove Park Elementary for a couple of years ago. And what strikes me about Miss Pratt, she's always data tracking something. First time I went to Grove Park when she was principal, she had to show me her data room, how each and every student and their reading levels and their writing levels are all on index cards, and she has them on Excel spreadsheets, and she's looking at where they are, where they need to go, what it takes to get promoted. So I get the privilege of evaluating each principal every year, and Miss Bush makes me an appointment, an hour apiece. They come down to Green Cove and we do this evaluation, right? First time Miss Pratt comes in, she's rolling a piece of luggage. I mean, I'm not even sure if it would fit in the check bag on the airline. I said, "Are you moving in? Did I miss something?" She says, "No, sir, this is my data. I want to talk to you about my students, and I have data." So something we can all learn from there. You get where you're going if you're paying attention. And so thank you, Miss Pratt, for doing such a good job, and thank you for your team. Please express my appreciation to them, too.
Okay. Next item is presenters, and we have a presentation about Clay County School District, the school libraries, by Ms. Karen Robinson.
Thank you for allowing us to make this presentation tonight. In March, Governor Scott officially proclaimed April as School Library Month in Clay County schools. This week is actually National Library Week. Tonight, we are here to share many of the ways our library media programs help students achieve. The initiatives of Clay County schools are innovate, engage, and empower, and I can proudly say that our library programs support and promote these initiatives. As I walked to the podium, I'm sure you noticed that I had a number of ladies who stood with me and kind of scattered about the room. These ladies represent the 43 library media programs in the school district of Clay County. Later, during the presentation, they will distribute bookmarks to every person here that share many of the resources that we provide from library media. We serve not only the library programs that meet during regular school hours, but we also have a 10-member team of volunteers who maintain an evening library program at the Florida Youth Challenge Academy. 2 of our media specialists are there at this time. Our library collections include more than just books. Our smallest collection has 7,819 items. Our largest collection has 23,668 items. At an average cost of $25 per item, our district-wide collection of 631,040 items has a value of $15,664,623.28. Our school library teams are a mixture of instructional and support personnel. 38 of our schools have an instructional leader in the Library Media Center. 30 of our schools have a media technical assistant. The assistant is responsible for checking in and out materials in the library collection, shelving books as they are returned to the library, processing new books, repairing damaged books, and processing interlibrary loan requests, because not only are our students provided access to books in their local school library, they have access to the library collections in every school through interlibrary loans. There are 5 primary roles of a media specialist. As a teacher, library media specialists teach curriculum, research skills, and the ethical usage of information. As an instructional partner, library media specialists collaborate with teachers, administrators, and students to create a school community where media specialists are able to help develop key critical thinking skills, technology and literacy skills, and core social skills. As the school's information specialist, we create engaging learning tasks and connect the school community with helpful resources, information, and services around the clock. Media specialists lead the way in regards to information literacy and technology skills. We serve on the school leadership team, curriculum committees, PLCs, and provide professional development. Library media specialists effectively plan their program mission, manage the budget and media staff, and ensure that the resources they acquire are accessible and interesting to the students and teachers who will be using them. We serve on school committees, run the school or library website, oversee a news program, and coordinate the distribution of school equipment, especially dealing with technology. A school's library media center is the largest classroom in the school, and exciting things are happening in those classrooms. Co-teaching research skills with subject area teachers, our media specialists promote an engaging learning experience. The young men you see on the left are engaged in a QR code scavenger hunt as they explore the library and develop 21st century skills. The young men on the right enjoyed participating in the music in the library, which supports the creative need of our students. Now, we all know that teenagers find dating intriguing. Well, these slides show how our high schools intrigued students with reading events incorporating dating. On the left, the students are engaged as they speed date with books. On the right, students are invited on a blind date with a book. Libraries have certainly evolved from the quiet place where no one talks and silence is golden to a true center of activity. Elementary media specialists teach as many as 9 scheduled classes per day, while our junior and senior high programs follow a flexible schedule. Research shows that families are increasing their access to digital media, but they lack the knowledge to use it effectively in a way that enables learning. Our school libraries accept the challenge of addressing these unique needs as they teach students critical thinking, technology, and information literacy skills. Our school libraries utilize iPads, Kindles, e-books, Chromebooks, pen pads, cameras, and various mobile devices to meet the needs of our 21st century digital learners. Teacher librarians are the role models for incorporating these essential tools to create effective lessons for all learners. An example of the role a teacher librarian has as a digital role model is the television production program. An important duty of most elementary and junior high media specialists is the school news team. Reading Under the Stars events encourage our students to connect literacy with all kinds of careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM. Students sit under the stars, or starlights, and learn how reading relates to science and space technology. And, in addition to their regular duties, most of our media specialists and assistants from all levels have elevated privileges and are the school's first contact for troubleshooting enhanced classroom problems. The Student Media Festival is one of the largest library events of the year that incorporates research and technology skills, writing, producing, and editing student-created videos. Volunteer judges recently judged the 189 entries in this year's festival. Our winning entries will be announced on May 14th here in the Teacher Training Center during the annual awards ceremony. It is not only digital leadership, but also the importance of creating a love of literature that drives our school library media programs. In essence, teacher librarians are reading cheerleaders, and these cheerleaders will sponsor several school-level battles of the books in the next few weeks as they create this love of literature in their schools. One of the most important roles is to get books in the hands of our students. We have already surpassed the total circulations for the August 1st through April 10th time period from last school year, and we are very close to meeting and surpassing last year's total circulations. And I might add that these figures you see do not include the e-book circulation. That is a whole different set of data. Our students are certainly inspired to read. One way we can measure our circulation and the success of our readers is through our Accelerated Reader program. This is sponsored by the library media. It's a motivational reading program that provides students with opportunities for additional reading practice. This year we used AR360, which provided high-interest nonfiction articles that were leveled by Lexile levels, in addition to the regular books that they read. AR360 provides additional tools for teachers to use to meet key educational shifts. It's available in both English and Spanish, so it provides a motivational tool for many of our Spanish-speaking students and families. Research shows that parental involvement in a child's education is directly related to success in the classroom. AR Home Connect improves the school-to-home connection by allowing parents and students to log into a website and view the student's reading practice and progress towards goals. Parents and grandparents can receive instant emails as soon as the student takes an AR reading or vocabulary quiz, so they can be aware of the student's progress. The informational letter and the student interface are both available in English and Spanish. Additional examples of inspirational programs include book fairs. Most elementary and junior high schools, and this year one high school, held at least one book fair. Some of them held as many as 3. Book fairs provide funds that are used to add resources to the library collections. Another important source of additional funding is through grant writing, and this year 12 of our libraries received grants. Unique to library media are the Sunshine State Young Readers Award Program and the Florida Teens Read Program, sponsored by the Florida Association for Media and Education. During the month of April, all Florida students vote for their favorite SSYRA or FTR book. The Clay County Supervisor of Elections Office works very closely with our schools and delivers the official voting machines to the participating school libraries, providing students not only a positive reading experience, but also the experience of completing an official voting ballot and properly placing it in a voting machine to cast their vote. This is a great example of civic activity. What a wonderful experience for students in the schools that participated in the 2014-2015 Reading Challenge, formerly called the Jaguar Reading Challenge. Participating students had the opportunity to win autographed athletic gear, food certificates, books, games, and just much, much more. But not only is reading required for this challenge, writing is also an important requirement. Each participant is taught how to properly compose a handwritten letter and address an envelope because thank you letters are written to the sponsors of the challenge, thus innovating, engaging, and empowering our students. Our own Mary Pat Callahan, media specialist at Orange Park Elementary, was recently recognized by State Representative Travis Cummings and the First Coast News You First Squad for her commitment to sharing her love of reading with children through her work with the Reading Challenge. The success of the challenge in our schools is truly a result of Mrs. Callahan's commitment. We've had quite a number of authors visit schools this year, both face-to-face and virtually. Here are a few of the featured authors who actually visited our schools. And many authors offer schools visits via Skype, a social networking tool. Clay Hill Elementary enjoyed a Skype visit with Kate Mesner, and Fleming Island High School hosted Jeff Urbach. Book clubs, book bashes, book swaps, and cookie chats are favorites of all students. They can talk about their favorite books in a relaxed, safe environment, and events take place when they can come to them, before school, after school, or even during lunch. Our teacher librarians recognize the importance of promoting community involvement. This year, our two largest district events were Celebrate Literacy Week and Read Across America Day, celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday. Guest readers came to the libraries to share their favorite stories with students. Kids of all ages, pre-K through adult, have fun every year celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday, and the creative side of both the children and the adults are revealed on this fun-filled day. Moms and Muffins is one of our most successful events. Moms come to the morning event with their child or children, enjoy breakfast muffins and a drink, find a table, a chair, or a corner on the floor, pull a book from the bookshelf, and enjoy reading together before the first class of the morning begins. Dads and Donuts is a similar event that gives dads the same opportunity to come to school with the child and read stories within the library environment while enjoying donuts and drinks. And we can't forget the grandparents. The children are delighted to read stories and enjoy goodies with their grandparents on Goodies and Grandparents Day. The Media Center staff are always on duty because the school library should never be closed. Many of our schools even arrange extended hours. 8 of our elementary schools will voluntarily open 1 to 2 days per week during summer break to provide library access to their students and families. Well, not only have our library programs evolved, the school librarians have certainly evolved from that traditional female stereotype with the hair in the bun, the rimmed glasses, and the ankle-length skirt. If you don't believe it, just look at these folks. They are definitely not your traditional librarian. Whether it's a high school, a middle school, or an elementary school. Excuse me, I'm running out of breath here. The library media specialist and the assistant hit the ground running every day. And I skipped a slide. Whether teaching face-to-face or virtually, our mission is to provide services, resources, instruction, collaboration, and innovation to empower students and faculty to connect with ideas and information, become informed decision makers, and lifelong information literate learners. Tonight, I have shared with you a very small sampling of our library activities. We are passionate about our library programs, and we invite you to visit our school libraries and participate in our many lessons and activities, as I think just about everybody up here at the front has visited at least one activity. At this time, our library media representatives will present each of you with a bookmark that provides you a link to the Library Media Facebook page and links to several of the database subscriptions that we provide from the Library Media Department. If you have any questions about the required usernames and passwords, you may contact me using the information on the back of the bookmark, or any school media specialist or media technical assistant can give you information about those. Now, while they're finished passing these out, we're going to take just a few moments to listen to one of the entries from this year's Media Festival, written by Coppergate students about reading and library.
This is our reading rant. Get it, Taylor.
There are so many books in the library. You can look up titles from A to Z. Read comics or science or history. Fiction, non-fiction, doesn't matter to me. So many books tell so many tales. Flying through space to get swallowed by whales. Go anywhere, be who you wanna be. All you have to do is just read, read, read. I like to read.
R-E-A-D.
I like to read.
R-E-A-D. Makes me S-M-A-R-T. Makes me S-M-A-R-T.
I like to read.
That's all you're going to be able to see. Thank you for allowing us to make this presentation.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Ms. Robinson. Okay. Okay. We're moving into our next item under scheduled citizens requests. We have two this evening, two scheduled citizens requests, but before we get to them, we have a couple of yellow cards for people that would like to speak to these items. And so our first one is Miss Brandy Stasiak would like to speak to item number 35, which is our first scheduled citizens request. So, Miss Stasiak.
Randy Stasiak, 4085 Edgeland Trail, Middleburg, Florida. Good evening, Superintendent Van Sant, members of the school board. Thank you for having me this evening, Ms. McKinnon. Thank you for having my name pronounced correctly. That is quite well done.
Okay.
I grew up here. I went to school here in Clay County, starting at Charles E. Bennett, moved on to Green Cove Elementary School at that time, and then went on to Clay High School. As a matter of fact, Ms. Karen Robinson was my media specialist. Ms. McCabe also was one of our teachers. Clearly, I am a product of a fine school district. And that is why I'm here to address you tonight. I am concerned that we remain a fine school district. My daughter is a 5th grade student at Shadow Lawn Elementary. She is a gifted student, straight A's, I'm proud to report. And I have some concerns about keeping her in the best school district, the same one that I grew up in. And a big problem for me is some of the negative things we're seeing in the press regarding our budget allocations and our teacher cuts. Things that we should be seeing on the news are things like those wonderful kids from Orange Park that come for the ACE program. That's fantastic. Swimming pins accomplishments, those are fantastic. We have those at every single one of our schools at every level, as far as I am aware and concerned. And those are not the things that we're seeing on the news. I'm pretty unhappy to say that I was approached by Action News to give a comment on that. In fact, I wound up speaking right after you did, Superintendent Van Zandt, on March 27th. They cut that interview rather short, and basically all they caught was that we were unhappy. They did not catch how well we feel that we're doing in spite of, and the fact that we feel that we need to reach out and work together, because we are doing a magnificent job. You are doing a magnificent job. Our children are doing a magnificent job. But we have to continue to do better. There has to be more communication. There has to be more transparency. I had a phone call from a good family friend over the weekend who is considering moving back home for a job opportunity. The job opportunity was not what was discussed. The first thing that was discussed was, if we come home, do we move back to Clay County? How are the schools? Driving for work is not really an issue for most of us. The school system, living here, that's going to be the issue for most of us. I'm pretty unhappy to say that the first thing she asked me was, why do I keep seeing this stuff on the news about teacher cuts and school board fussing and fighting, and what's really going on? See, she grew up here too. I have to let you know that the first thing I had to say to her was, we did lose some teachers. We are in a budget crisis. We are reaching out, we are working together, and we are trying. I'm here to urge you to continue to do that, continue to communicate. Please be transparent with the community. There are more than the few people that you see in the room tonight here trying to work to help solve this problem as well. And I want to urge you to continue to fight for the kids as far as FSA testing. And please remember, those budget dollars really do matter, and we really do have to work together to figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stasiak. Okay, so our first scheduled citizen request is Ms. Joanne Denemark. She'll be speaking for 10 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Denmark, and my address is on file.
Mr. Superintendent, Madam Chairman, school board members, and those concerned Clay County citizens watching via TV or internet. Good evening. I am speaking today as a follow-up to my February 19th and March 24th school board speeches and the events that have taken place prior to this evening. As stated previously, I will happily inform each and every Clay County citizen that is willing to listen so they can be an informed voter regarding the future of our school district. My husband and I pledged before God that we would protect our children and be the best parents we can possibly be. And as a mother, I take my job very seriously. I give 150% to do what's in the best interest of my children. I'm not here to make friends, and I know not everyone will agree with me, but I can stand here before you and affirm that I will uphold my duty as a parent and stakeholder in my children's education. The day after the last school board meeting on March 24th, I attended, out of curiosity, the Clay Charter Academy's parent informational meeting at the Orange Park Library at Fleming Island. And I have the pamphlet here. For those of you that are not aware, there is a second charter school that is under construction, a new state-of-the-art facility in Middleburg. At this meeting, there were at least 200 plus parents, Clay parents, in attendance. It was standing room only. The presenters had to cycle parents in and out because the room was over capacity. The majority of the attendees had already registered their children and were anxiously awaiting to hear if they were accepted. It saddened me to see this with my own eyes. I realized that our public schools would lose some students to this exciting educational opportunity, but not at this capacity. I don't blame these parents for choosing, because it's all about school choice, as we know, for choosing a school that offers all of the bells and whistles that our true public schools have either frozen, lost, and or will be losing or cutting this upcoming school year. According to Mr. Van Zandt, your financial funding adjustment that was shared on February 19th, our district's 2015-16 budget has an estimated $2 million has already been allocated and will pay for the students that will attend the new charter school, whether or not your child attends this school. So similarly, an estimated $1.2 million has already been allocated and will pay for the Orange Park Performing Arts Academy. So Mr. Van Zandt, and I didn't see Mrs. Leggett here this evening, but this funding adjustment needs to be updated. This document you presented, and you know what I'm talking about, Mr. Van Zandt, indicates 500 Clay students times 4,000 base student allocation, which equals $2 million. However, according to the charter presenter, they are at full capacity. They've been approved for 644 students. So if you multiply that by 4,000 BSA is equal to $2.6 million, which is a difference of over $500,000 not budgeted correctly. So Mrs. Adams, on many occasions you've stated that our student numbers, or belly buttons, are what fund our public schools. So now we have 644 less FTEs, and if you're not aware, our district cannot count those FTEs for the charter school kids. So our true public schools do not keep any of that money. We take the money and we write a check to the charter schools. And you told me that, Mr. Van Zandt, in a private meeting. I just wanted to clarify that. So
repeat that last sentence so I understand what you're saying.
When we had that private meeting, you had stated that to me about writing the check to the charter school.
Right, we do that. A private meeting with about 6 other people, just to clarify.
Yes, that is correct, yes.
Right.
Great.
So can we honestly predict next school year's student number will remain near the 34,947 student count? It's critical that our district relays the importance of attendance during these critical FTE weeks for appropriate funding. And Mrs. Cornegie, that will be your job as the incoming deputy superintendent of our district, so I hope you will keep the citizens of Clay County informed and updated. So if our funding decreases, then the need for critical teachers decreases, which leads to cutting teacher jobs. I'm sure we're going to hear after I'm done from teachers that have been cut and who will courageously share their stories, including at Orange Park Elementary, where my children go to school, the art teacher has been cut, and 80 teaching positions will be cut next school year. So our county loses effective and dedicated teachers, like what Ms. Butler had mentioned earlier. According to Mrs. Adams, if our school numbers are low, the district penalizes those schools. The state doesn't penalize our schools. It's the district that cuts our resources. So at OPE, we haven't had music for 3 years, and now we're getting art that will be cut. And in contrast, Mr. Superintendent, at your children's own school, your student numbers have risen, so now you have been added the art, another resource. You're adding art to your school. So yes, reading, math, science are all essential foundations to learning. Children need the arts too. I am a proud product of the public school education in Clay County, from 1st grade to 12th grade. And I genuinely believe that I received quality public education because of the resources provided. Don't we want our graduates to be more well-rounded and prepared for the real world? Last month I named several solutions, and I want to go into detail about one of those solutions using my 2 favorite words, transparency and accountability. So transparency is defined as open communication across all stakeholders. Since the Parent Tallahassee trip, I've continued to forge transparent relationships with with our local leaders and those Tallahassee leaders that graciously met with other concerned parents and myself on March 10th. And during my last speech on March 24th, I addressed transparent information regarding the miscalculations of Clay virtual students last year. After I shared this information, Mr. Van Zant, you said, and I quote, "You can't just simply take things at face value, and if anyone's known me for a length of time, thinks that I have ignored hundreds of thousands of dollars after I've been told it's just not true." So I'm a little confused about your comments because after the last month's meeting, shortly thereafter on March 30th, I received an email from Linda Champion, and she is the Chief of Operations and Finance for the Department of Education. And she writes in this email to me, "Relative to your question regarding the unreported 2013-14 FTE, I am unaware of any change in the position of the Department of Education on this matter." And she kindly provided this informative letter, which I have copies if you'd like to read it. And I will read some of the excerpts from it. It says, "Dear Superintendent Van Zant," it's dated March 13, 2015. "Commissioner Stewart asked me to respond to your letter regarding full-time equivalent FTE student reporting for Clay County School District. 2013-14 virtual school FTE had decreased by more than 100 FTE students when compared to 2012-2013. After notification, the school district made no inquiries related to this issue and did not amend its FTE survey data. Unfortunately, after a survey amendment deadline has passed, the survey may no longer be amended. In this instance, after notification of questionable data, the district had in excess of 5 weeks to submit amendments. Sincerely, Linda Champion." So, after reading this letter, it's not that I'm trying to be confrontational. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just trying to be transparent because that's one of our solutions that we came up with. I want to do what's right for my children, the teachers, and students of the county. So since this was never fixed, I don't know the exact amount of money, but the letter states at least 100. So if you multiply that by 4,000 base student allocation, that is equal to $400,000, nearly $500,000. That's equal, to me, is equal to at least 10 teacher salaries, including benefits. So I feel like the finger pointing stops here at the district level. But on a positive note, I would like to share that Mr. Van Zant has kindly listened to our parent proposed solutions, and as a result, this past Monday, myself along with several concerned OPE parents, the principal, and STEM district leaders in our county are in the process of a test pilot grant writing committee comprised of committed parent volunteers. And I have been designated as the county's volunteer coordinator to increase the robotics program in our county, a passion that is a personal passion of mine, and it's just a volunteer position only. We realize that in order for us to fix the current budget crisis, We must focus our energy on creative and innovative ways to provide a well-rounded, quality education our children deserve. We need to start thinking outside the box. So, our Clay voters and citizens, we ask for accountability across all stakeholders. I'm accountable as a parent. I've taken time along with other concerned parents to reach out to our government leaders, both locally and in Tallahassee. I'm forging relationships and open communication through transparency between parents and Capitol. I urge you to reach out as well. Please don't be complacent in your comfortable chairs. I ask that we need more advocates for our county. You, our school board governance, should be at the head of this line to reach out to our county representatives. Our concerned Clay voters, please be informed whether or not you have a child or grandchild attending a public school. Please know that our district has a huge impact on the fate of our Clay County community in regards to employment, businesses, business relationships, revenue, and the stability of our county.
Thank
So
you,
let's
Ms.
work,
Denmark.
let's
Your time
work
is up.
together to fix our county, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If you need a copy of this, I have many.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next scheduled citizens request is, but before we do, we have a couple of speakers that would like to speak to that as well. First we have Ms. Renali Paiva. She would like to speak to item number 36. Ms. Renali Paiva, which is, yes. Okay, and then Ms. Tracy Butler, you are next. Okay. Well, in the interest of being consistent, because it was brought to my attention at the last meeting that when we don't normally have people speak to scheduled citizens requests, but we did at the last meeting, and that individual spoke before, so I'd just like to be consistent. Okay.
Hard to speak to something that I haven't heard yet. All right, Tracy Butler, 12570 Cache
I know,
Drive.
I know. Yeah. Just for the record, I just want to state this for the record because Ms. Karakis does make a good point. This type of a card is normally done at the end, okay? And I think what happened was the confusion came. Ms. Paiva was confused. Last month, we had the scheduled citizens request at the end of the meeting because we had a number of presentations from people that had come all the way from Tampa, and so those people spoke at the end of the meeting. This card should technically be at the end of the meeting, and in the future it will be, but because I want to be consistent and fair tonight, I'm going to let her speak to Ms. Sylvia Croft's item. So go ahead, Ms. Butler, I'm sorry.
I was told by some teachers, Mr. Van Zant, and some of our members of the community that you have stated on a few occasions that the reason we are in financial dire straits is because of the unions. I want to set the record straight for everyone. These teachers haven't received a dime of the general fund for steps or pay increases since 2009. We received the governor's earmarked dollars in 13-14, and that was not general fund dollars. Therefore, I don't believe it is fair to blame these employees for the gross financial problems that exist in the district at this time. Let's take a look at where Clay County is actually spending its money on personnel. First, we have the deputy superintendent that's $3K above the state average, and I will state that I got these numbers off the DOE website, and I printed out the link, and so if you would like that, I have that. This also comes from a records request that I made. The deputy superintendent's salary is $3K above the state average. The school board members is $2K above the state average. Business finance and business affairs is $60,000 above the state average. Staff Services Director is $6,000 above. Facilities Assistant Superintendent is $15,000 above. Transportation Director is $10,000 above the state average, and the ESE Director is $16,000 above the state average. Student Services Director is $13,500 above the state average. Your principals, both principals, AP, and VP, they were pretty even with the state average. A little bit lower in some areas, a little bit higher in others. Let's talk about the instructional world. Guidance counselors, $3,200 under the state average. Media specialists, $3,000 under the state average. Teachers, $1,600 under the state average. In our support world, we've got nurses are $7,000 under the state average. Secretaries are $3,000 under. Electricians, $5,000. HVAC folks are $11,000 under the state average. Mechanics, $5,500 under.
Carpenters are 6,000 under, paras are 3,000 under, and food services are 3,000 under. I think that this is very interesting if you were to line this up in a pyramid. We've got the folks down at the district office and district level administrators all getting paid above the state average. Now, these state averages are for those same jobs. This is right off the DOE website. And then you've got your principals. They're about average. They run in this middle area. And then down at the bottom, all your frontline people. All your people who actually do the work that I'm not sure, but I believe Ms. Croft is going to talk about how wonderful they are. They're actually out there driving the kids to school, feeding the kids, taking care of all of those children when they have their boo-boos. We've got guidance counselors that are listening to some pretty serious things that are happening in our community. And all of those folks are paid under the state average. So it's very, very concerning.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Butler. Okay, Ms. Sylvia Croft.
It's not set for 10.
I'm sorry?
It's not set for 10.
You want to set that for 10 minutes? Okay, go ahead.
I'm Sylvia Croft, and my address is on record. From our very beginning in 1854, when the Middleburg Common School opened its doors to 58 students, to World War II, when one-room schoolhouses were established across the county to educate the children of military fathers that were training at Camp Blanding, all the way to today, when our school system has grown to 26 elementary schools, 6 junior high schools, 6 high schools, 1 7th through 12th junior senior high school, 1 virtual school, 2 alternative schools, and 2 charter schools serving over 35,000 students. I think it's safe to say we've come a long way. We serve a community that's multiracial, multi-ethnic, and an ever-growing segment of students who do not speak English. And so we have an English Speakers of Other Languages program as well as English Language Learners program. We also have SLD classes and ESE, Exceptional Student Education. In January of this year, Clay County School District, in cooperation with the Department of Juvenile Justice, opened a PACE Center for girls. This program provides a school setting that meets the needs of up to 50 of the district's most challenging girls. Then there's the Florida Youth Challenge Academy at Camp Blanding, which accepts students from all over the state. It's a voluntary program for 16 to 19-year-old at-risk youth, and I was a mentor 2 years for that program, and it's a great program. We also have adult and community education program that provides high school completion classes, credit recovery, and continuing education programs for Clay County residents. To me, one of the most exciting projects the district is engaged in is what is called the Academies of Clay. With the aid of strong business and community leaders who support students in attaining skills necessary for higher education and for improving our own local workforce, there's been a broad and bold reform initiative that's led to a lot of fundamental changes in our system. And in August of 2014, the district began taking entering 9th graders and having them select a field of interest that placed them in a themed and small learning community. And that's the Academies of Clay I mentioned just a second or two ago. Let me just read a list of what's available to our students in Clay County. And I'm not going to say Academy of over and over because it's very redundant. But we have Academies of Business and Leadership, Manufacturing and Veterinary Assisting, Law and Emergency Services, Business and Finance, Digital Media, Teaching and Learning, Advanced International Certificate of Education, Academy of Visual and Performing Arts, Business Leadership and Advanced Studies, Agri-Science, Manufacturing Technology, Arts, Health and Human Services, STEAM Academy, Science, Technology, Agriculture, Auto Maintenance, Architecture, Construction and Design, which had a very impressive presentation tonight. I'm even more impressed now that I've seen, made me want to go back to school, actually. Medical, Early Childhood and Culinary Arts, Visual Information Technology and Leadership, Aerospace Academy, Digital and Commercial Media, Public Services, Visual and Performing Arts, Biotechnology, Engineering and Manufacturing, Business and Leadership, Orange Park Medical Center Academy of Health and Human Services, Technology and Innovation, Health and Human Services, Advanced Studies, and Performing Arts and Designs. Wow. Isn't that amazing? The school district stated vision and mission says this: we believe all students can learn, and that it is the responsibility of the school district and all stakeholders to ensure that each child meets and/or exceeds his or her potential. That's a monumental task that y'all have undertaken. You, the board, the district staff, the administrators, the school teachers, and support personnel. It cannot be done without everyone's cooperation and teamwork. And for the sake of our children and our own future, it must be done. In my opinion, you've done an amazing job of it. In golf, they have what's called a handicap that helps with your score. I don't understand it really, so I'm kind of winging it here. I know that all of you I just named have to work with more than one handicap in your way. The district has gone through a huge deficit of funds to accomplish this job, and yet you have great accomplishments. You have people and organizations that want to sue you if the name of Jesus passes your lips to another student or employee. And there are some, I taught years ago, so I'm saying this from experience, there are some students who are uncooperative and disrespectful and who will even cuss you out. I had a second grader use the F word to me. And you have to try, you teachers out there, in spite of constant interruptions and distractions, you have to try to teach. I absolutely do not understand how you do what you do and accomplish what you accomplish. Though I admire your vision and mission statement and agree that indeed all students can learn, I believe it's not only the responsibility of the school district and stakeholders to ensure that each child meets or exceeds their potential. I believe the primary responsibility falls squarely on the parents. And I believe that because that's what God says. He says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old he won't depart from it. He says, these words which I'm commanding you today shall be on your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And one last verse, only be careful and watch yourselves closely, so that you do not forget the things your eyes have seen, or let them fade from your heart as long as you live. Teach them to your children and to their children after them. Now, I know that some parents have concerns, and I heard the young lady who was up here before the other 10-minute speaker, about certain programs that are having to be cut because there are no available funds to pay teachers and buy supplies for those classes. But I say this is the time for parents to step up to the plate. Parents can volunteer to take up the slack. That's what they do in a lot of schools, you know. And I know that there's plenty of parents who have gifts in art and music and in physical education and in they have all other kind of talents. And I know that there would have to be a background check to meet insurance and state regulations, but it's not that big a deal. There are a lot of volunteers in schools who've done that. And it really is your responsibility, parents. If you feel like it's a good and needful thing for your children, then do something about it. Help. Lend assistance. Volunteer in the library. I'm sure the library could use lots of volunteers. Letting your concerns be made known is a good thing. But if there's no money to fix it, there's no money. That happens in my house sometimes. And it doesn't mean somebody's got to make up the slack. If there's no money, there's no money, so we have to get creative. The last 3 years, I want to just say a couple things. 29 of our 39 schools receiving a school grade in 2014 received an A or B. 11 schools who had declined in 12-13 all received an A in 2014. In 2013-2014, Clay County was one of only 29 districts in Florida to earn an A or B, and ranked 19 out of 67 districts in overall points earned. In 2013-14, there was a graduation rate increase from 71% to 78% in just 1 year. And in 2014, before the end of graduation, our rate exceeded the national average of 80%. In 2014, our district exceeded the state percentage of students scoring proficient on the state assessment at all levels and in all content areas. Clay County is one of the state's leading districts in the number of industry certifications earned by students annually, and the district is one of only 17 school districts in the nation who are part of the Ford Next Generation Learning Community. 3 Clay County School District Career Academies have earned Model Academy status from the National Career Academy Coalition. Ridgeview High School's Academy of Culinary Arts, Clay High's Academy of Law and Emergency Services, and Fleming Island's Vice Star Credit Union Academy of Business and Finance. I have so much more information I found that I could share about how great Clay County School District is, but there's just not enough time to fit it all in. So I'm going to close by saying this to all of you, the board, the district, the administrators, the teachers, and the support personnel. Clay County Schools and District, keep on shining. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Croft. Okay, we are moving to our discussion items, and so I'd like to just make a last call for speaker cards. Do we have any more yellow speaker cards? One more, Mr. Christensen. Okay. Moving to item D1, Superintendent's Update. Mr. Van Zant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate everybody that's spoken tonight. We all have the right to be heard, and thank God we live in America where we all can be heard. That's a cool thing. And I'd like to just add a few clarifying points. Ms. Stasiak, I appreciate so much you speaking. And darn it, I feel like that sometimes with Action News and other news outlets too. You give them 20 minutes of your best stuff, and they come up with 30 seconds of what really wasn't what you wanted to get across, but their editor might have had a different thought that night. And I saw the news media we have here tonight writing steadily some of those statistics. So, Ms. Croft, if you have, I'd like a copy of that, because I've heard all those things, and I've probably said most of them, but I don't have them all in one spot. So whatever data sheet you have, I'd like a copy of, and maybe you could pass it to the newspaper folks in front of you, because I noticed the Clay Today last week had 80 allocations cut or whatever the headline, but I never saw an 80% graduation headline, exceeding this national average for the first time in Clay County history, and I think that's significant. So I'd like to see a big 880 there, Mr. Cravey, front page above the fold, because you've hit most of my other numbers through the years that weren't so positive. All right. Also, I'd like to clarify a little bit. Everybody keeps saying teacher cuts, and I just can't reiterate this or say it in any plainer English, but I'm going to attempt to say it one more time. We have about 2,750 teachers right now in Clay County. Every year, due to natural attrition, and attrition I had to define to a TV reporter, not anybody here tonight, means a natural reduction, people that retire, married to somebody in the Navy and move away, just naturally. They don't teach for us anymore, 200-300 people a year, and we naturally hire about 250 to 300 people a year. Okay? Well, that's going to happen again this year, plus or minus a little bit. This next year, based on the student growth that we have, based on the student numbers that we can project, we think we're going to hire back maybe 80 less people. So in other words, I'm projecting we're going to hire between 150 and 200 people, not between 250-ish and 300 people. But those are just projections. Those aren't allocations. Those aren't in the budget. Those aren't written down. Those are in my head, the income and human resources professionals' heads. Those are about what we can expect. So we're going to hire back a few less new people, but everybody that's in Clay County doing a good job, and I know I've said it to Ms. Butler and Ms. Paiva lots of times, if you're doing a good job, you'll have a job. I know you know that. All right? So, let me just hit on that a little bit. Ms. Champion, Director of Finance for DOE, lovely lady. I've met with her several times. I've carried Ms. Adams, Mr. Hendrick from our IS department, where we put together our student projections up there a few times. We've met with the Auditor General up there. And yes, there is 5 surveys a year where you count FTE through the district. And one of those surveys that happens right about the time school starts back only lasts for like 6 weeks, about 28 working days. And they did send one email to one support staff that said, hey, this doesn't look right. Wasn't anything that that particular person took a note of. Very unlike the multiple times the commissioner herself has picked up the phone and called me, or the director of CTE has called me or Ms. Stewart. When they want to get a hold of you and let you know something, they pick up the phone and call. They write letters, they send emails, they get a hold of you till they get a hold of you. And so no excuses. They sent one email, support staff person missed it. We didn't get the word to the right people. But from the moment we found out about that forward, I'd like Ms. Adams just to recap a little about what we've been doing and where we are with that process, because the March 13th letter Ms. Denemark read, I think, is lacking great detail from Ms. Champion's perspective, because we all knew all that last September, and we've had much more communication since then, an FTE audit, and she conveniently left out multiple factual details, and I'll let Ms. Adams fill in some of the blanks.
Thank you, Mr. Van Zant. Yes, that letter that Ms. Champion sent on March 13th came after lots of talk. After the moment we realized the shortfall, I personally called Ms. DeBard because I look at FTE. And I said, hey, you know, our FTE was up at the end of the year. I don't understand why this final count shows that we're down. That doesn't make sense to me. She said, let me look at that. So she looked and she said, well, it's your virtual school. You only got credit for like 120 FTE, and y'all had projected like 300, because now in virtual school FTE, you don't get credit for those kids until they complete. Okay, like our regular FTE, brick and mortar FTE, we call it, you get credit for them throughout the year for the October and February count. And I said, well, that can't be right, because our records show that we had at least that 300, and we thought really we had more, so that didn't make sense to me. And so she went and checked some more. She came back. She said, nope, y'all had a shortfall of 120. I said, that just can't be right. So every FTE cycle has an amendment window that Ms. Denmark referred to in the letter that Ms. Champion stated. And, of course, Ms. Champion, I think, referred to 5 weeks there. That sounds like a long time. The normal amendment period for FTE is at least 90 days or a semester, okay? So what happens is this FTE is submitted, I guess, sometime in July. It goes up to Tallahassee. It's processed. It comes back. They send you something. And to Mr. Van Zant's point, we did get one little, when we tracked it down finally, an email that said, hey, something doesn't look right. Well, there had been another adjustment there. They had also changed a rule a year ago. The way you get credit for CVA is by final grades. We had posted semester grades when, in fact, we were supposed to something called a final grade, okay? You may think, what does that mean? But trust me, that was the difference. So the kids had the grades in theirs, the kids had completed. In other words, we had truly earned this FTE, but it just had not shown up. So I talked to Ms. Champion myself. I said, you know, Ms. Champion, you know, please, we've got the data here, let us submit it. I mean, we're just talking a few days after the window had closed. I said, certainly, you know, you can see that this was an error here that we can easily rectify, and can't you please open the window for us? Nope, nope, nope. The survey windows are the survey windows. We can't do it, yada, yada, yada. So I said, okay. I said, well, we happen to be in an audit cycle for FTE for the 13-14 year, and this is considered 13-14 FTE. I said, well, then I'll just point this out to the auditor when they come, because that's what an auditor does. They correct FTE. Well, they didn't like that, and they said, no, you know, you really shouldn't do that. And I said, well, I'm going to do it anyway, and so we did. And so then we got the auditor's office involved, and long story short, Mr. Hendrick and I met with Representative Van Zant and the Auditor General of the whole state of Florida, David Martin. I'd seen his name on memos since I was a young person. And he was a very nice gentleman, and the Auditor General, actually came and met with us, and he brought his deputy with us. Nice man. Unlike, I might say, when we went over to DOE and tried to meet with Miss Stewart, she didn't meet with us, but Mr. Martin did. I was very impressed by that. And he said he thought it was silly that the state was trying to make us do this through an FTE audit. He said that in the budgeting planning statute, he showed me, he had highlighted that the legislature realizes that, you know, we're all humans, mistakes are made, and that we have a responsibility to fund, you know, we have 200 million plus kids in the state of Florida, and that the FTE is attached to them, and we're supposed to fund it, and if mistakes are made, that, you know, we're supposed to fix them. So I took that little piece of statute along with another piece of stanute that says amendment windows could be adjusted if the commissioner saw fit, and wrote a nice letter on Mr. Van Zant's behalf to the commissioner. I believe that's how it went. Saying pretty much that. It was a nice letter, but a very direct letter saying, come on, you know, open this window, let us submit this. And that's when we got the response back from Ms. Champion, so, which was information we already knew. We're not saying a mistake wasn't made. We're just saying, hey, we're not asking for anything that we didn't earn. So, you know, do right by us. And so we are still in the throes of that. I will say that the audit is complete. They have verified that, in fact, we did earn that FTE, and that our audit report will show that. So I'm heck bent on this. One way or the other, by golly, we're going to get that funding back, I hope. We haven't given up hope yet on that. So I don't know exactly the point Ms. Denmark's making when she refers to that. It feels like that perhaps we're not doing our job or being careful enough. I just want to assure the public, the community of Clay County, that we are being careful. We do watch it. Yes, that was a mistake that was made, but we are trying to rectify it and have been working on it since September to fix. We've offered 2 different solutions that are viable and legal, and we're still doing battle with that. I'd also like to add that you know, I've sat through budget meetings, allocation requests, lots. I'm ended up 39 years here, folks, so I've done this a lot. And people only get interested in budgets when they're tight. We've had budget hearings here when there ain't nobody out there in that audience, and I don't know if anybody's listening on TV. So my recommendation, you know, people want to talk about transparency. I'm telling you, Dr. Copeland, and I'm sure Ms. Legutko and the people before that, we have thrown numbers up there on the wall. We have talked about budgets. We've discussed it with board members. We've had workshops. We are trying to be transparent. We want to continue to be transparent. My recommendation would be come to budget meetings. Come listen, come to public hearings and ask questions. School finance is complex, as y'all discovered as you dive into that. Anybody can make anything look like anything with a statistic. It is complex. And it also kind of gets sticky when people want this for that school or something else for another. So I've said probably more words than Mr. Van Zant wanted me to say, but hey, I'm leaving, so what do I care? Thank you.
We're not clapping that you're leaving. We're just, we're happy. We like what you said.
Oh, gosh. And I just had one other note. Our budget process is very transparent. Our current budget's on our website. Our next budget will be on our website. I appreciate Ms. Denmark bringing up the other document. That is not a budget document. That's a simple compilation of things I asked Dr. Copeland before he left, and Ms. Legutko as she came on board, to keep updated for me, just as a way to share with the board, and a kind of a snapshot that we just never had before, that shows, yes, when Everybody in Tallahassee says you're getting more per pupil funding than in Florida history. And again, another great fact that's a little light on some other facts. Yes, we are getting more funding per pupil than ever in Florida, but we have more students in Florida than ever, and everything costs more than ever. And we're writing checks to everybody and their brother, and that's never happened before. What all this school choice, I heard somebody say it's all about this school choice, has come down to each of the 67 school districts are now the fiscal agent for school choice. So we have about $2 million a year that flow through from McKay scholarships. The $1.2 million for Orange Park Performing Arts Academy, we write them a check for approximately $100,000 a month, 1.2 over a year. The charter school that's being built out in Oakleaf, I think it is going to be a reality by August. They've poured the slab, they've made their deals on the access roads, but that number that we projected, I think it was $2 million, is just a projection, just a guesstimate. If they have X number of kids times the base student allocation, it'll be that many $1 million. If they fill up to 600, it'll be a bigger number. If they fizzle on the onset and open up with 250, it'll be a smaller number. Those are just guesses. We haven't really started our budgeting process in earnest, and that never really starts before the last week of the legislative session. The last update I got from Tallahassee yesterday tells me that the House and the Senate are still in a lot of confrontation over enhanced Medicaid and health care funding for the state. LIP, I forget LIP, what that stands for. Low income programs. So they're projecting among themselves that the 120 in the House and the 40 in the Senate aren't going to come to grips with it, and will probably be in a special session. So they will take longer. That won't change our trim timelines and budgets. I'll still have to bring this school board a budget in July, and they'll have to adopt it in a specific 5-day window in September. But we'll just probably have less time to work with an actual number. And it's amazing to me that Ms. Champion and Ms. Stewart would act like this when every fiscal quarter they adjust the amount of money they told me I was going to get in the first place. And when the Auditor General confirms that we earned this FTE, and they have every bit of legal power to go ahead and restore it to Clay County, and it's well documented, and they don't do it. So again, I like transparency from every direction, so I'll speak plainly to you and appreciate you doing so with me. Now, the superintendent's update that I had planned,
Before you move on, can I just ask you a question, Superintendent? Sure. Just for clarification, I know with respect to the charter school that's going in out at Oakleaf, the numbers that there's no guarantee that all those students are going to come from Clay County. Is that correct? Those students can come from anywhere. So whatever those numbers are that they're telling you, Ms. Denemark, that there's going to be 600 and some odd students, there's no guarantee that they're all going to come from Clay County. So those students can come from Duval, they can come from anywhere. So I just wanted to clarify that. That is correct, right? So we're only going to have to pay for the students that come from Clay County. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Ms. McCannon, I have a question.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Ms. Karakis.
Well, Mr. Van Zant, while you're talking numbers, do we have any indication on the fourth calculation yet?
The fourth calculation hasn't come out. We do have a few more students. Again, I'm not going to hazard a guess, but it's going to be better than the third calculation. I can assure you that. We're going to come up. We're going to recover some of that money that we lost. I feel confident saying that. I don't feel confident giving you any particulars with what's going on in Tallahassee right now.
Did they give you a date as to when? I thought last month we thought it was going to come in like...
It usually comes in the Friday after a board meeting. It could be here tomorrow. If it is, I'll send it to you as soon as I get it. Typically, it did in December, the Friday after the board meeting.
Okay. All right. So,
okay. Our accreditation, we briefed you a little bit on that, mostly the same briefing you had heard. We've received the full report now. Ms. Cornegie has a couple of things that she'd just like to highlight with you, and it kind of ties in with what we were talking about last month and what Ms. Gilhousen has mentioned a couple of times with a way to have more community input. So, Ms. Cornegie, if you would do it in a few less words than Ms. Adams.
I can certainly.
Since you're staying.
So you have, hot off the press, in front of you a copy of the final report from our accreditation review. You heard basically the contents in the summary, which highlighted our powerful practices. It's hard to say. as well as some improvement priority recommendations. As a result of reviewing that, I've spent a good bit of time going through it and looking at those priority improvement goals that they've recommended for us. And as you read through that this evening, because I know you're going to all rush home to read it, on page 20 it talks about one of those improvement priorities, and it says, involve representatives from all stakeholder groups in the shaping of decisions, providing feedback in the development of the strategic plan, working collaboratively on system improvement efforts, and participating in meaningful two-way communication. We heard about that from one of our citizens this evening about communication and working together. It's mentioned again on page 25, so I think they really wanted to take note of this priority recommendation that we need to develop a district advisory group to help in this endeavor to provide greater communication and information amongst all stakeholders. This has been a common theme. If you remember, a few months ago, Ms. Gilhausen mentioned to us the need for a district advisory committee, and we've heard it in the community as well, that we need to engage more stakeholders. So based on these recommendations, I've done a lot of research and looking at district advisory councils, their roles and responsibilities, and the membership of these committees. And I have established for myself, as I transition to my new role as deputy superintendent, which I just have to stop and mention because we've been talking about budgeting, and Ms. Butler had some information for you. I just want to share with you that I will make $7,000 less than Ms. Adams. So you will be getting a new deputy superintendent that is below the state average, and I just want to let you know what a bargain that you're getting.
Only in costs, not below the state average.
Well, thank you, sir. But so I am working as one of my top priorities in this role to work alongside the superintendent and you, the board, and our community to establish a district advisory council. So one thing that you have in front of you is just a one-page summary of my initial thoughts, which kind of set what the purpose of the committee would be, some ideas for membership, and again, these are just my ideas based on what I see across other districts, as well as the requirements and responsibilities, and a sample application for citizens. I'm just going to give you some time over the next month or so to review that and maybe give me back some feedback, your thoughts on how we might move forward with this. But my timeline really involves working with you over the next month or two, and then by the summertime bringing to you a board policy that will define further the responsibilities and requirements of the committee, an application process, probably via an online application in August as we communicate that to all interested applicants, and forming the committee in September. So I'll leave that with you, and I look forward to your feedback and working with you to develop that committee and working with our citizens. If you have input, I'm interested in whatever you can share with me in regards to your interest in this. Thank you.
Very good. Are you all finished, Mr. Van Zandt? Okay. Great. All right. Our next item up is item C2. This was pulled from our consent agenda. Proposed allocation changes for 2015-2016. This was pulled by Ms. Adams for corrections. Ms. Adams?
I'm so sorry. At times, I had made a mistake. I had said a minus .4, and it should have been add. And so it just made the reappointments correct. So
okay.
I pulled it for that correction. So if y'all would make a motion to accept the amended allocation changes for 15-16 for this month, I would appreciate it.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval.
I have a motion for approval by Ms. Studdard and a second by Ms. Karakis. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, next item up is D2 Human Resources Special Actions, and I don't believe there are any this month. Next, we move to item D3. This is a public hearing to receive public comment and approve as advertised the adoption of the 6 through 12 career technical education agricultural instructional materials. I'm going to open the public hearing right now. And is there anybody that would wish to speak on this item? Okay, no speakers. I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion for approval by Ms. Condon and a second by Ms. Karakis. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. The next item is item D4. This is under Business Affairs, and this is also a public hearing to approve as advertised amendments to School Board Policy 6GX-10-5.02B Business Affairs. And this was the general policies budget that we advertised. And did you have a card on this? Did you? Okay. Yeah, let me go ahead and I'm going to open the public hearing right now. And Ms. Paiva.
Good evening, Renly Paiva, President of the CCEA. Your budget policy 5.02B and its preparation of the budgets, and it states that each principal shall be responsible for the preparation of his or her budget, which shall, in accordance with instructions and forms as provided by the district office. The individual school budget should represent the interpretation of the long-term educational program of the school as applied in the current fiscal year, and should be developed by the principal in conjunction with all members of his or her educational staff and the school advisory council. The CCEA does not know what it has to do to ensure that this happens. We have on countless occasions requested that this county abide by this school board policy and the like statute in Florida law. We still have principals, and I will dare say all of them, who refuse to let any member of the instructional staff or any school advisory council have any input into the development of school budget. I'm encouraged that Mr. Van Sant says transparency, because I'm all about transparency. These are public funds, and there should be educational staff, community, everybody should be involved in creating of the budget like the statute says. I'm sure the district will again tell you that this is untrue, that we're sure that they're getting input from other people, and I'm here to tell you they are not. Mrs. Adams has run a training for the CCA last year, and she even heard from the teachers themselves about this missing policy and statute. I ask that the school board request that the district enforce this statute and the school board policy. It is public funds and deserves to see the sunshine instead of to be shrouded in secrecy. Now, I will note, it isn't much that the schools get, but the fact of the matter is it's hard to get buy-in, and it's hard to teach teachers to be empowered with budgets if they don't feel like they have any part of it. And that's where we're at right now. And this is a Florida statute. This goes beyond your policy, and we should at the district be doing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Paiva.
Madam Chair, may I say something?
Yes.
Mr. Van Zant, will you look into what Ms. Paiva said to see if that is happening in our schools? And to make sure that there are all stakeholders involved?
I will, and I can assure you that all our principals will abide by school board policy.
And
That's the
apparently
deal.
by
They're
statute.
rule followers.
Thank
Looking
you.
at several of them smiling, and we'll check on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Adams.
Please forgive me. Just yesterday, principals out there, did I not say it in principals meeting when we handed out the budgets? I reminded everyone of the statute as promised. So, yes, we are on the road.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other people that'd like to speak to this item? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring this back to the board. I'll entertain a motion. I have a motion for approval by Ms. Karakis and a second by Ms. Studdard. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. And then the next item up is item D5, which is also another public hearing to approve as advertised amendments to the school board policy 6GX-10-5.02F. And this is business affairs general policies, in particular the investment policy. So I will open the public hearing. And is there anybody that would like to speak to this item? Okay, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
I have a motion for approval by Ms. Condon
I'll second.
And a second by Ms. Gilhousen. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, that is it under Business Affairs. We have nothing under Support Services. We will now move to presentations from the audience. I have several yellow cards here, so I am going to start with is it Eileen Breen? I'm sorry, Isla. Okay, I apologize, Miss Isla Breen.
My address is on record.
Okay.
I am here tonight to ask, where is your sense of advocacy as a board member? It isn't with your administrators at the school site level. Teacher placement, timing of information, and curriculum changes are dictated by district office individuals, not by those in the trenches with the students, staff, and families. Very little educator insight is acknowledged despite being extensively trained in school-based decision-making. That successful strategy has been all but abandoned in the race to Common Core and FSA testing. We know your advocacy isn't with the Clay County educators. Again, very little site-based decision-making despite having the most highly trained teachers in the state. Look at the number of highly effective teachers and national board certified teachers we have in our county. Such a waste of wealth of knowledge and skills. Remember the day 80 teachers were released from 2015-2016 school year? That was right in the middle of our FSA testing. At my site, CGE, Coppergate, 7 were released. They were not intending to leave nor retire, no matter what has been reported. There is no guarantee they will be rehired since the district has decided we have 80 too many teachers. You just addressed that. Why aren't students who are already being bused to overcrowded sites bused to underpopulated schools? Lastly, your advocacy is not present for our students. The stresses they endure in the false name of learning is ridiculous. With the placement of the writing FSA test on my students' desks this year, 2 promptly started crying. These were 2 of my highly successful students reacting to the stress of the test. The FSA reading and math were equally stressful for the students, and why shouldn't they be? These students have never been correctly tested on any standards in the last 5 years. We have taught 4 different sets of standards in the last 5 years. Florida standards, next generation standards, blended standards, and now the unloved Common Core. Are you aware that many of your school sites will be under testing restrictions for 6 weeks? No music, no technology, and no media skills will be taught for that period of ever-changing schedules due to testing requirements and wherever there are enough computers to use. You need to advocate that either the state of Florida develops and provides proper computer testing, or we need to return to paper and pencil testing. 2 or 3 training days in the computer lab are not enough to teach students how to test with computers, especially when they crash. Add to this the non-availability of materials for teachers to use and totally inadequate monies for teachers to buy new materials that they need. We bought a science adoption that immediately went bankrupt. We don't have any of the different things that we were promised we would have to teach. Beyond the academic issues, we have ACs that are turned off. As soon as the kids leave the room, they're turned off. We're holding conferences in the heat. We're holding books. I guess that's it. If you want the rest of my letter, I can give it.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
You can go ahead and finish.
Thank you. We hold conferences in sweltering classrooms. Custodians are performing physical work in the heat, and the air conditioning is unevenly dispersed throughout the building. One half is ice cold and the other is hideously hot until just before turning it off for the afternoon. There is very little rush to fix broken AC units. Turning off the power each evening, days off, and summers is destroying the textbooks and computers with the humidity and heat. Many teachers have and continue to donate their own time, salaries, energy, and enthusiasm to hold those conferences, to grade papers, and sponsor the after-school activities that are making a difference to the students. Depending on the school sites, that includes music, drama, art, garden clubs, run, walk, math club, building clubs, book study groups, photography, anything that is of any interest to the child's soul. These directly impact and build the ability to organize, transfer learned information to real-world issues and to practice correctly. Taking these away is destructive to the students' souls. Please reach deeply into your beliefs. You remember yourself as a child and consider how you will advocate for your schools, your students, and their families.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Breen. Okay, just as a reminder, these are 3 minutes, okay? I really don't like to cut anybody off, but just a reminder, please try to keep it to 3 minutes. Our next speaker is Ms. Renalee Paiva.
Good evening, Renalee Paiva, President of the CCEA. I really wasn't going to speak tonight about these things, but these things just came up. But anyway, on the good side, I got a few things. Lordy, Lordy, guess who's 40? The CCEA is 40 years old tomorrow. So it is our birthday, and we're celebrating our birthday with our members next week. So we're here to stay. We've been here since forever, it feels like. At least I feel like I've been here forever. But I wanted to speak about something that happened an hour before this meeting started, so I'm not my joyous self that I usually am coming up here. I'm a little concerned, and Ms. McKinnon, and before the meeting starts, you say this whole speech about the purpose of this meeting. It's for public to speak, you know, and to be heard. And, you know, we got telephone calls before we left the office that said, you know, people were told not to speak at this meeting. And they've been told not to speak by people that they feel are empowered, or people that hold power in this county and may or may not be part of this district office. That disturbs me. And as most of you do know, and those who don't, is I don't come from this country. I was born and raised in a different country, and the extremists have done a check on me, so I am an American citizen. My father, you know, served in World War II in the United States Army, and so did my uncles. But I brought up in a country that was parliamentarian, and I was always amazed because parliamentarians, if you don't know that system, you go under the whip and you're not allowed to speak. So your government party, no matter whoever's in party, they get all the, you know, they have all the power, and we don't care what anybody else thinks in the government. And I was always, as from a little kid, always looked at the United States and thought, isn't that wonderful? They can do anything they want in that country. They can speak their mind. They have freedom to speak. And I am amazed at this age to realize that, no, you can't. This little county needs to grow up. This little county needs to let its people speak, because they have a right to speak. And the people that come up here, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, too bad on you. That is the essence of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paiva. Okay, our next speaker is Sandy Damron. Did I say that right? Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Sandy Dameron. My address is 2334 Oak Point Terrace, Middleburg, Florida, 32068. And I must say I am a much better speaker with young little people, so bear with me. This is hard for me to do, but I feel it's very important. The reason I'm speaking here tonight is to share my story with the board regarding the handling of the cuts and following of the Senate bill, Florida Senate Bill 736. This is a situation I feel needs to be fixed. I am a product of the Clay County Schools, proud product. As you know, my mother served on this board for 20 years. She was unable to be here tonight. I began teaching 4th grade in 1995 at Tynes Elementary and continued until 2006. And from 2006 to 2012, I stayed home to raise my 2 young children. In 2012, I was rehired at Shadow Lawn Elementary as an ESE inclusion teacher, working with students with disabilities in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade until 2014. This current school year, I am teaching first grade regular education. I have a total of 14 years teaching experience, all in Clay County. My certification includes elementary education 1 through 6 and ESE K-12. In 2005, I became National Board Certified in Early and Middle Childhood Literacy. I was the first teacher in Clay County to obtain this certification in this subject area of literacy, and I did it in 1 year. On Friday, March 27th, after dismissal, I was informed by my administrator that I was one of 5 allocations being cut for next school year. Hearing this news, I was shocked, amazed, and speechless. I was told, along with 2 other teachers who were also being cut, that the reason that we were chosen to be cut was to meet the needs of the school. How is this possible, I thought. This year, and the past 2 years at Shadowlawn Elementary, my evaluation scores were highly effective. In my entire teaching career, I have never had an unsatisfactory evaluation. As time went by and word is spread around the county, the cuts at various schools, I learned some schools use teacher performance to determine cuts. Well, now I was really confused. I'm a member of the CCA, and I called and asked the union for assistance. I was told that principals handled it differently. Some released teachers based on evaluation scores, and others said just based on the needs of the school. We all know that Florida Senate Bill 736 is the reason for this mess. The bill took effect in 2011 and makes these decisions legal. I understand nobody here passed this bill. However, I am asking the board to work to make things right for the future. Work on contract language that will give us some security. I am told that half the other counties in Florida have security for their annual contract teachers. Why not Clay? The teachers want it, the union wants it, and if polled, I bet the parents would want the continuity for their children. Just because Senate Bill 736 says an annual contract teacher like myself can be let go at the end of the school year without being given a reason does not make it the right thing to do. Should a teacher's future in this county be determined by what school you work at or who your administrator is, therefore determining how a teacher is chosen to let go? This inconsistency must be fixed by the school board. I ask the board to think long and hard about the consequences of this type of inconsistent decision-making throughout the county. How will it affect student achievement? How will it affect teacher morale? How will it affect student enrollment? What will it do to this profession? Why should a teacher like myself strive for excellence when there is no clear-cut criteria on how a teacher is to be cut during a reduction in force? Whether it's the needs of the school, teacher performance, or something else. Leaving our annual contract teachers guessing at the end of every year as to what their fate for the next year is will be the undoing of the excellent reputation
Okay, Ms. Damron, I'm really
Schools has
sorry.
maintained.
Okay.
And I am a highly effective teacher, and I and 80 other teachers do not have a job. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 3 minutes. Okay. All right, our next speaker is Tony Damron.
Good evening. My name is Tony Damron, and I reside at 23340 Oak Point Terrace, Middleburg, Florida 32068. Most of you know my mother-in-law, Carol Valancourt, former Clay County School Board member. I know most of you. She wanted to be here tonight to support her daughter and her county, but unfortunately, after many phone calls regarding this situation, she was unable to make it due to ill health. So between my mother-in-law and my wife, Sandy Valancourt Damron, both of whom have invested over 35 years of dedicated service to the children and the school district of Clay County, I would like to discuss the personal aspects of the issue to cut jobs in Clay County schools. Whether this is a reduction in force, as some have claimed, or a thinning of the educational ranks, as allowed by the 2011 Senate Bill 736, the actions that you all have taken here do have human consequences. Let me explain. In a recent article posted on News4JAX by Marquez White on April 1st of this year, Diane Cornegie, Assistant Superintendent of Clay County Schools working under Mr. Van Sant, was quoted as saying, "No current teachers or staff will lose their job because of your decisions." While I am here to disagree with that assertion, my wife, as well as the others, have lost their jobs. Anytime someone is made to answer a cattle call in which they are summoned into a room with other people who are then informed that their services are no longer needed or wanted, that would be the definition of being fired. Wouldn't you agree? In this particular case, my wife was left to wonder, since there was no rhyme or reason for how these cuts were made, as to why this was happening. She was devastated. She was shocked and amazed. She was now left to wonder how she was going to provide for her family and contribute to society as she has always done. I cannot tell you the mental angst that she has been going through, and I am sure it is the same with many of the others that were cut, but especially for her, as she has always been an exemplary employee with multiple certifications to her name and who has dedicated her life to helping children with their time, talent, and treasure. It was not unlike her to spend hours upon hours after school and on the weekend to make sure that she was a highly effective teacher and that the students of Clay County were always enriched by her educational methods. Although, again, according to Ms. Cornegie in the recent News4JAX article, the district will hire about 170 teachers while still being able to reduce the 80 positions necessary due to the population reduction in the county, neither my wife's job nor any other annual contract employee that were fired are assured. She has no idea if there will be a position available to her in the future. None of the people let go by the cuts do. Sandy has been so affected by these decisions that the school system of Clay County has been able to do the one thing that I didn't think could ever happen to her, and that is get her to doubt herself. I know she is a wonderful and dedicated person and an exemplary educator, and you all were remiss in the way you handled these cuts. She shouldn't have to wait from March till August to find out whether she's going to be employed or not. In closing, let me tell you, as her husband, I can't be more proud of her. It took a lot for her to get up here and stand before you tonight and tell her side of the story, more than you will ever know. So please note that there are human consequences to your decisions. Please don't ever get to the point where you think that there aren't, and if you do, you should retire and save anyone else in the future that pain and humiliation that my wife has endured. Thank you very much, and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Dameron. Okay, our next speaker is Marion Nichols.
Well, you know me as Keith Nichols. My name is Keith Nichols, and my address is on a public record. I was going to talk about something different tonight, but I kind of have to address what Ms. Croft was talking about. You know, I do agree with her that we are 19th, and that's a pretty good, pretty respectable number. The only problem I have with that is that, approximately 11 years ago, we were ranked in the top 10. We've dropped approximately 11 positions in the last 15 years. That's, not a way that I really want to be going. So while she's sitting over here, she's drawing her picture of the district as rosebuds and rainbows, it's nice to know that we need to get back to a little bit of reality. So I just wanted to bring up a few facts for you. First of all, like I said, we dropped 11 positions, in approximately 11 positions in the last 15 years. Now, last month, Ms. Adams sat there and mentioned that when they were doing their projections for the budget, that they had missed by 1%, just 1%. And she made the comment that, and it was amazing how much that really affected our budget. Well, the thing that you need to understand is that by missing by 1%, that's 340 students. Swimming Pen, the smallest school we have, has 397. So you basically missed your projection by one whole school. Now, Ms. Croft spoke previously about about 9 months ago, stood up here and spoke about the dangers of us losing accreditation after Dr. Henry got up here and made his presentation. Now she's standing up here and telling us that everything's fine, everything's great, and, look how great we are. Well, it's nice to want to pat yourself on the back. It really is. But the problem I have with that is that we're spending so much time patting ourselves on our back that we're not innovating, we're not empowering, and we're not engaging. We're not doing the things we need to do to get this school district back. Now, we're sitting here with a fund balance under 3%. There's the possibility that the state could take over at some time if we get below, if we can't continue to progress toward that level, toward 3%. And it really bothers me because we're sitting here, we're looking at the budget, and we're talking about how we need to make these cuts, and you've still got 30% of your support staff that are below federal poverty level. We're seeing people that are sitting up here making $118,000, $120,000 a year that aren't taking any pay cuts, while people that are sitting there struggling to survive are getting their hours cut and having their pay reduced by $2,000 a year and being told, well, we're sorry. We just don't have the time, we don't have the money. Leadership is standing up and taking responsibility for the actions. Okay? Right now, the people that are working and that are earning the living and that are putting these kids through school and that are making the sacrifices and making this school district strong are looking for you all to be leaders. So why don't some of you all step up and actually start addressing problems instead of patting yourself on the back?
Okay, our next and last speaker is Mr. Travis Christensen.
Travis Christensen, 2871 Affirmed Court. I want to echo a little bit what the last speaker said. We just had about an hour and a half of basically the schools are great. I mean, come on, I have never sat for this long with presentations and presenters and everyone saying the schools is great right after some bad headlines. If a few bad headlines are such a big deal, then fix your business. Then you won't have bad headlines. There's obviously a lot of good things that happen in Clay School. There always has been. But this allocation thing, this is a pretty bad deal. Should have seen it coming. And nobody can fix it but you and the staff and the superintendent. And that's your job to fix that. It's a job you went through, moved heaven and earth to get, and convinced us that you were better than your person that you replaced at doing this job. Now, if you have any doubt in your mind that you're not better than the person you replaced, maybe you should try harder so the citizens can get their money's worth out of you. But anyway, what I really came up here to speak was just to inform the board and the public, starting a new citizens group in Clay County, the Committee for Responsible Education Policy. I'm not really going to address education issues directly because I'm not an educator, but I'd like to bring together people to take actions for a lot of the politics and political activities that go along with education policy. I mean, one of a variety of things like just general government watchdog kind of stuff for your local government, and put together a strong mechanism for addressing the legislature in the next session. Perhaps some teach-in or something along that line for Common Core and charter school and things along that line over the summer, if we can find some non-biased speakers on that subject. And, things of that nature. I'm more interested in representation than education itself because, again, I'm not an educator, but I would like really some input from educators, and they could do it anonymously if they wanted someone to speak for them on issues, because they're encouraged not to speak. But probably one of the things we'll be looking at very soon is curriculum review. It's my understanding the statutes allow citizens to view the curriculum. School districts can pick their own curriculum, and have fairly good advice that curriculum sometimes has it's considered like non-appropriate slant or bias according to some people's views. So just some regular citizens group stuff. Look at it, find any red flags, bring it to your attention, and make a recommendation, and go from there. So I'll be seeing you.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. Okay, that was our last speaker, so now we move to superintendent requests. Mr. Van Zant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I really wanted to mention to you tonight is if you would please look at your calendars and see if you'd be available at 5 o'clock on May 7th for a special board meeting. That will be 14 days before the regular May board meeting. Every year we tweak our administrative allocations, and before we bring those to you in May, I don't know that anybody really has significant changes in a division other than IS, that the laws and statutes governing what IS has to do change every year. So there will be a couple of job descriptions that need to change to facilitate the work that has to happen so that FTE, grades, assessments, all that data gets reported. And we're trying to get that gathered up as the session is closing and we understand the finality of the changes this year, which I think the major education bill passed and the governor's already signed it this week. So just if you would check your calendar for May 7th, we'll look at like 5 o'clock. And I don't think there will be any other action items other than job descriptions, but as that situation develops, if there's more than that, of course, we'll publish the agenda 7 days prior.
Is everybody good with May 7th?
Just to clarify, we're going to meet here.
Yes.
Here?
I need to check this and make sure it's available, but we'll plan on that.
Okay. Everybody good with May 7th?
Works for me.
Okay. Ms. Studdard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ms. Condon? I'm good. Okay. Okay. All right. Is that it? Okay. School board requests, Ms. Studdard?
Just a couple things. A couple nights ago, Ms. Karakas and I attended the Oasis concert up at Oakleaf High School. This is a concert that consists of the Oakleaf and Argyle area schools. It's Argyle Elementary, Oakleaf Village Elementary, Plantation Oaks, Oakleaf Junior High School, and Oakleaf High School, and they all come together and do one smash concert. It was wonderful. The high school cafetorium is huge, and it was packed to capacity. A lot of support for the music program up there, and I really did enjoy going to that. As a side note, I will have to say this. I will not rest easy until we get music teachers and art teachers back in all of our schools. It is wrong to have small schools who do not have exposure to music and art, and they have to go to one of the larger schools in order to have music and art. I was sitting there at this concert, and I was thinking about the little girl I mentor at Grove Park, and I was thinking about the parents at OPE, and I thought, you know, this is just, as a former board member used to say, and I used to laugh every time she would say it, but I'm going to repeat it, this just is not right, and we are going to have to work on this. The money right now is tight, but I just want you to know that if I can ever see daylight to see any way to get music and art back in all of our elementary schools, regardless of whether they're 300 or 800 or 1,000, I think that's the right thing to do, because we're supposed to provide equal opportunity and education for all students. Now that's my soapbox. It's been, I'm glad that the fair was last week, not this week, because I think it's rained every day or night, and it seemed that everybody enjoyed the fair, and I know that they really appreciated the partnership with the school district. It's always a wonderful affair. The only other thing that's kind of eating at me right now is I heard what was said about phone calls being made about trying to get people not to come speak tonight. That's alarming. I do know what you're talking about. I know of at least 3 people who called a person who was planning to come speak, but that's politics in Clay County. That's just the way it is. And with that, I will say good night.
Ms. Gilhausen.
I'd like to thank Ms. Kendrick, since she's sitting in the audience, for having me out to Clay Hill Elementary today to see the neat and innovative things that they're doing out there with the use of iPads in the classroom and Apple TVs. It's really neat to see the new technology being incorporated into learning. I was very impressed with the way that it engages the students and not only encourages independent learning, but through the Apple TV and through
the specific programs that they're using on the iPad, I was very impressed with the collaboration and just the group work that was occurring there. So Ms. Kendrick did a wonderful job of explaining it all to me, and was very creative and innovative in the way that she found funding to be able to do that at her school. So good on you. And all that to say that the face of education has changed so much over the past 5 to 10 years, both in the legislature with the new technology that's available to us now, the new challenges that our students and teachers are facing every day. I'm very impressed with the quick work that Ms. Cornegay did in pulling this research together and really getting the ball rolling on having some more in-depth parental and community involvement. I think that education is the key to everything. We've rolled out all of these changes, and parents, teachers feel like there has not been a lot of transparency. So I think this is one way to really engage the community and hopefully put some minds at ease, let your voices be heard, feel like you're a part of the decision-making process. So I'm excited to see where this group goes, and hope that those of you who are interested will apply. And we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Ms. Karakis.
Thank you. Mrs. Studdard kind of stole my thunder about the Oasis concert. This is bad that you go first every time.
Look at us.
It really
Next month we're going to start with you, Ms. Karakis.
It really
Remind
was
me.
remarkable, and it weighs heavy on my heart too that not all our schools have art and music, because I'm a believer in it, and I really do believe that we need to look at the cost of it. Ms. Adams, I'd like to ask if you could put something together, some document, letting us know what the cost would be to implement a policy to have art and music at every one of our elementary schools. I mean, we don't have to act on it, but we need to know if it's something that we could put into our budget or not. I'm sorry? $100,000. For every elementary school to have an art teacher and a music teacher. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how much did you say? Mm-hmm. Well, I think we need to develop well-rounded children. And, you know, some children, it's all academics, academics, academics. And the only place, and you know this, you've been in the classroom, the only place they shine might be in art or music. And another thing that's a little disturbing to me, and I just recently found out, you know, Battle of the Books. I know, you know, Ms. Cornegay, Ms. Adams, Ms. Studdard, myself, we've all judged at the district level. And we're not having a district Battle of the Books this year. And I was shocked when I heard that we have stopped that. I don't know why we've stopped it. I am very disappointed, because you know, what greater pastime than reading for kids? And those of us who've been there, you know, they have a list of 15 or 20 books, and you know, one little snippet, and these kids are able to tell the title of the book or the author of the book. They're amazing, and I think it's something that we need to continue. I can't imagine that having a district Battle of the Books costs much money, or what the reason is. You're pointing over there, so would it be Ms. Cornegay? Help. Why have we stopped that?
Ms. Karakis, I think I'd prefer to let Mr. Van Zandt answer that question. And if he wants to have Ms. Cornegay answer it, she can answer it.
We're not going to come in here and put senior staff on the spot. And if you're really concerned, I haven't heard from you all month, music, art, Battle of the Books, whatever, please just pick up the phone and call me. I haven't heard from you or Ms. Studdard all month long.
And you know what?
So if you need to know, call me beforehand. I'll have a presentation ready.
What about transparency?
Mr. Van Zandt,
I don't know why we're not having a Battle of the Books.
I'm not going to be calling
Mrs. Studdard.
Excuse me.
It is not your turn to
I
speak.
still
Ms.
have the
Karakis.
floor.
Yes, you do.
And I find it disturbing that if I ask a question to our senior staff that you are not allowing her to answer, something as simple as why we're not having a district Battle of the Books. I mean, that's ridiculous. This is part of the problem, and our community is witnessing this. They're asking for transparency. It's a simple question. Why have
Ms.
we
Karakis, I'm asking you to please direct your question to the superintendent or to me, and the superintendent can address his senior staff, okay?
The superintendent has just refused to address it.
Well, the superintendent made a recommendation for you to call him, so call him.
It's ridiculous. This is something that you could have just said, Ms. Cornegay, answer. It's not a big deal. why she stopped it. This is ridiculous that you're creating this. Anyway, for those parents who came out once again to speak for OPE and Ms. Valancourt's daughter and son-in-law, thank you for coming out and speaking. I know how hard it was for you to come here before us, and I hope that when they do reappointments, that you are certainly in one of those positions. And I also hope that our art teacher at OPE is back, and our gifted teacher, and that the fourth calculation comes in and that there is some relief. So thank you.
Ms. Condon.
I'd like to congratulate all of our FFA students who worked extremely hard for the past 11 months and got to shine this month at the fair. I'm extremely proud to say that my home school, Keystone Heights High School, with our largest FFA program in the county, did exceptionally well, winning the cattle show or the steer show and the table show and some things like that. So I was very proud of those students. They worked very hard out there for 12, 15, 18 hours a day with their animals, taking care of them in the heat and the bad weather, because we had some of both this year, and those students really, and their teachers and staff members really supported them. And so thank you for anyone in the community who came out. And no one mentioned, but there was a mishap with the scheduling with Fair Day and with the time the fair opened. That was not to throw Mr. Sutton under the bus, but it was not a school district error. It was a scheduling error with the fair, and they have assured us that that will not happen again. And if you saw him on the news, he apologized for that. So we wanted to reassure all of our families that we want to support the fair, and when we have a fair day, we want it to be available for you to go to as well. And then the only other thing that I'd like to say is sometimes we have to make decisions that we don't want to make. And I live in what most of you would consider the less populated parts of the county, and I get at least 4 or 5 phone calls a week from junior, senior high school parents who tell me all of the things that are offered in all the other junior high and high schools in the county except at Keystone. And I have a high schooler, and he's been able to take the electives that he wanted to take pretty much in the areas that he wanted to take them. And then I got last week my rising 7th graders elective choices or lack thereof for next year. So for all of you who've lost allocations and think your children don't have a well-rounded education, come down south and see what little we have, and that we don't have an IB program. We don't have the ACE programs. We don't have the other ACE programs, but we make do. We have a lot of students who use the dual enrollment, and they could travel up, but the parents don't have the transportation to provide them. And what I have to tell the parents when they call me is sometimes the school district has to make tough decisions based on enrollment numbers. And it's not decisions that we don't care about kids. It's not decisions that we don't want to offer opportunities for these kids. But when my rising 7th grader is told he can take 9 weeks of PE, 9 weeks of keyboarding, 9 weeks of an online class, and 9 weeks of one other of 6 classes, and that's all he gets to choose. And so then I called around, and all the other junior highs in the county have more to offer because they're a separate junior high with separate staff, and they're not trying to get high schoolers through there to meet their elective requirements, to meet their Bright Futures things, or to meet their scholarship things. So I guess I just want to caution my fellow board members, when we look for equality, we're going to look for equality. And we can't afford all of it. Not that we wouldn't want to, but we can't afford it. And we're trying to fix, to Mr. Christensen's, we're trying to fix the mess that was created. I was not here when those things happened, but I will promise that I will try my hardest to get that fund balance restored as fast as we can so that we can do some of the things that we want to do. But I also would say that I think our students in Clay County and our teachers in Clay County and our administrators in Clay County shine brighter than a lot of people want to say that they do. And the sky is not falling in Clay County. We are succeeding despite our budget challenges. And so I just want to thank our teachers and our administrators, and especially our students. Our 5th and 6th graders right now are taking their FSA testing. And so thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for your dedication, and thank you for believing in our county. And I know all of you live here and you stay here because you want it to be a great place to live. And that's why we're here too.
Thank you, Ms. Condon. Okay, attorney requests.
I want to remind the board that we have scheduled for next Thursday, the 23rd at 4 p.m. an executive session. I have a court reporter that will be there. We will go over in detail all the outstanding litigation. It will be divided into sections. What that means is a court reporter, we need to talk about each specific case as it goes. And then what will happen is once each individual cases are eventually settled, the transcripts of those records become a matter of public record, and the school board superintendent will have those records, and they will be available to the public. So even though it's going to be a closed session, the public can't be there, and it's going to be attorney-client privilege communication, and I would ask the board to restrict any discussion that we have to the attorney-client privilege communication on that day to nobody outside of the board. We'll go over it in detail, and the transcripts for each one of those cases will be available to the public at the conclusion. But it will be 4 p.m. at the over at the main office building.
The Business Affairs Conference Room? Business Affairs Conference Room over in Green Cove, yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. This meeting is adjourned.